This episode is brought to you today by Whitehall Mortgage, where there's a will, there's a Whitehall. Buying a home starts by getting a pre-approval, and nobody does it better than Doug in Dallas. Call them today at 570-562-7505 or apply online at whitehallmortgagefinancial.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Whitechalk. I'm the host of the Real Estate Right Now podcast, and today we've got a great episode on board for you. We work with a lot of investors in northeastern Pennsylvania, and I say all the time, if you're a realtor, you've got to do whatever you can to work with investors. They are, for many of my realtors, I know, the lifeblood of their business. So with that in mind, what I wanted to talk about today is the top 4 types of properties that are ideal for investment. And I think you have to know what properties these guys are looking for. And if you're working with new investors, I think it's important to try to teach them a little bit of what each type of investment property offers to them and why it can be beneficial to add them to their portfolio. So the first type of home that I think is ideal for investment is single family rentals. All right. And I think this gets overlooked a lot because a lot of people want to buy big multifamilies, the most units as possible, and so on and so forth. And they work, obviously. But I think single family rentals work. Maybe in some parts of the country that's harder to find, but in northeastern Pennsylvania, you can, without question, buy single family homes and rent them for significantly more money than your mortgage payment is going to be. So why do I think single family rentals work? For a couple different reasons. One, there's a lower entry level as far as multifamily homes are concerned, right? So you can buy a single family home for less money than you can a multifamily home. So it's a little bit easier to get into single family investing. I think there's a strong demand from long-term tenants, especially families, where if they know they're going to be long-term rentals, single family homes are significantly more attractive to those long-term tenants than living in an apartment. Look, you don't control who lives next door to you, all right? But if you're a renter, it's comforting to know that the person living next door to you won't be attached to you. So I think for long-term tenants, which are the type of tenants that you want to be attracting, single-family rentals are very attractive. And then the other thing that I like about single-family rentals, I think the resale side gets a little bit easier in the future. Should you decide that you want to sell an investment property, I think it's a little bit easier to sell a single family than it is to sell some multifamilies. They come with some unique challenges when it comes to selling. So number one, single family rentals, I think it's a great type of home to buy for investors. Another property that I think a lot of investors should be buying right now, small multifamily properties. And what do I mean by small multifamily properties? I mean 2 to 4 unit properties. That's what we should be looking for. Look, it's great because it provides multiple streams of income from just one property. All right. That is the key to everybody who wants to do multifamily investment. Another thing to think about with these is you don't have to get a commercial loan. All right. So a standard conventional loan will work up to 4 units. Because of that, I think the 2 to 4 unit rental properties make a lot of sense. Whenever you could do residential financing as opposed to commercial financing, it's a little bit easier to get into those type of houses. And another thing, look, I say this all the time. I think those 2 to 4 unit investment properties are the ideal house for the house hackers out there. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think if you're a first-time home buyer, you might want to also think about yourself as a first-time investor. I think if you buy a 2 to 4 unit property, in my opinion, the 4 unit is ideal. But if you're buying a 2 to 4 unit property and you live in one of the units and rent the others, you're setting yourself up for success in real estate investing long term. One, your tenants are going to be paying the majority, in some cases all, and in some really fortunate cases, more than what you're actually paying for the house. So your tenants are helping to purchase that house for you. Another thing that I really like about this, if you buy a 4 unit property and you plan on living in one of the units, you could do it with an FHA loan. That's 3.5% down. So you could buy one of these multifamilies without a ton of money saved. Another great portion or another great piece of that is that in the future, if you decide you want to buy a single family home for yourself, you simply rent the unit that you are living in and you're increasing your cash flow. So the small multifamily is ideal for investors, and it's perfect for those people who want to be house hackers and really get ahead in life. Another great style for investment, and this one is location dependent, but short-term rentals. Short-term rentals work. There's the potential for higher income with a short-term rental than there is with long-term tenants. You have the ability, if you're in popular tourist destinations, to adjust the rent according to the market. Look, houses are going to rent for more money on Labor Day, 4th of July, and Memorial Day if they're at the beach, right? You can bump those rents much easier and much faster with short-term rentals than you can with long-term rentals. And another thing that I like, look, short-term rentals give you some flexibility of use, all right? So what I mean by that is, obviously you want to use it as an investment, but there's no rule saying that you can't use it yourself. So if you're going to buy a short-term rental, buy it in a neighborhood that you like to be in an area that you go on vacation. It's perfect, right? Because then if you have a week or a weekend that it's not rented, it gives you a chance to build in your own little getaway for yourself as well. And then the fourth and final type of property that I think is ideal for investors is what I call the value add properties, all right? And what are those? Those are your fix and flips. What do we look for? We look for the absolute worst house in the absolute best neighborhood, right? That's what we're looking for. And you see those signs out there all the time. We buy ugly houses, right? And the reason you're seeing those signs is because that's where the biggest potential is for investors, right? You could build equity pretty quickly. You can get appreciation through the work that you're doing. And at the end of the day, if you find a house at the right price and you can renovate it quickly and efficiently, you can make some substantial gains when it comes time to selling those properties. Just to recap, the 4 types of properties that I think are ideal for investors: single family rentals, small multifamily properties, anything that would work in a short-term community, and those value add-on or those fix and flip properties. Now look, those fix and flippers, they're harder to find now, but we're starting to see some more foreclosures creep onto the market. And if you can't find foreclosures, don't forget to look at estates. Sometimes people have houses and their goal isn't to sell it for the most money, it's to sell it quickly and painlessly. And if the people are willing to do that, it gives you an opportunity to make some money if you're able to provide those solutions for them. That's all for today. Can't wait for our next episode. Thanks for joining us for today's episode, everybody. If you want to hear more content, follow us at Real Estate Right Now Pod on YouTube. Once you're there, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to follow me directly, check me out. It's Dave Wychock at Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all the socials that you're already using.